The crystalline displays aboard the Galactic Council's scout ship Luminous Inquiry pulsed with contradictory data. Dr. Zixtal's peripheral sensory membranes quivered as she absorbed the readings for the third time. Her research team had been observing the blue-green planet for 3 solar cycles, and nothing made sense. Another anomaly. Lead researcher, her assistant Valrim announced, their voice sacs vibrating with confusion. Sector 7, what their information networks designate as Syria. A human military unit is engaging in what appears to be combat. But Zixtal glided to the observation panel. The high-resolution feed showed a scene of urban destruction. Nothing unusual for this species. But as she watched, a human soldier broke formation, charging through a hail of projectiles toward a collapsed building. "Magnify," she ordered. The image zoomed in, revealing a small figure trapped in the rubble. A child, belonging to what their intel identified as an opposing faction. The soldier, risking lethal damage to their own biological shell, was attempting a rescue. "Log it with the others," Zixtal commanded, her chromatic scales shifting to deep purple with frustration. This made the 47th recorded instance of humans endangering themselves to save genetic strangers, often members of enemy groups. It defied every established model of evolutionary behavior. The main display continued streaming data from across the planet. In one region, humans fought viciously over artificial territorial boundaries. In another, they formed vast networks of cooperation to address environmental disasters. Their information networks brimmed with both hatred and compassion, often expressed by the same individuals within the same time unit. New data incoming, Valrem announced. A natural disaster in what they call Indonesia. Volcanic activity. The feeds showed humans evacuating population centers, as expected. But then something extraordinary happened. Humans from neighboring regions, even those with historical conflicts, began mobilizing resources. Aid workers poured in from across the planet. Local residents formed impromptu rescue teams, risking their lives to save strangers. Their behavior patterns are impossible, Valrem noted. How can a species simultaneously exhibit such extreme aggression and altruism? Zixtal's research membranes pulsed as she formulated a response. After 15 cycles of studying thousands of species, she had never encountered anything like humanity. Most civilizations followed predictable patterns. Aggressive species remained aggressive, cooperative species maintained cooperation. But humans seemed to defy categorization. "Adjust sensors to full spectrum," she ordered. "I want everything. Electromagnetic, quantum, psychological markers. There must be something we're missing." The ship's AI complied, flooding the chamber with new data streams. Population centers glowed with complex webs of social interaction. Conflict zones blazed with both destruction and unexpected cooperation. Hospitals, where humans fought to preserve life, operated alongside military bases where they trained to end it. Lead researcher, the ship's AI interrupted. "Council protocols indicate we should maintain our current observation distance. However, these readings suggest closer study might be warranted." Zixtal felt her decision sax pulse. Council protocols were clear. Species displaying humanity's level of conflict should be quarantined and monitored from a safe distance. But something about these humans nagged at her researcher's instincts. She watched as the rescued child was pulled from the rubble, the soldier who saved them now treating their wounds despite the ongoing battle. In another feed, she observed humans forming a chain across floodwaters to save trapped strangers. A third stream showed them planning weapons that could crack planets. "Plot a closer approach," she finally ordered. "Maintain stealth protocols, but bring us within detailed scanning range." This violates Council Directive 7249B, Valrem reminded her. "Note my authorization override in the ship's log," Zixtal replied. "There's something about these humans. Their contradictions don't feel random. We're missing a pattern." As the Luminous Inquiry descended through the lunar orbit, new readings began pouring in. Human art, expressing both beauty and horror. Their music ranging from soothing harmonies to aggressive rhythms. Their stories filled with both hope and darkness. They're not just violent, Zixtol muttered, watching the streams of data. They're not just cooperative. They're integrative. Each aspect feeds into the others. The ship settled into its new observation position, just as another crisis unfolded below. A natural disaster threatened a population center, and once again, humans demonstrated their paradoxical nature. They fought over resources while simultaneously sharing them, argued about methods while working together, and ultimately achieved what their individual capabilities shouldn't have allowed. Begin recording comprehensive observations, Zixtol ordered. I believe we're about to witness something unprecedented in galactic history. As the ship's systems engaged, she couldn't shake the feeling that humanity's contradictions weren't a weakness. They were something else entirely. Something that might force the Council to reconsider everything they thought they knew about civilizational development. The question was, would they survive their own nature long enough to show the galaxy what they could become? The New York subway system was not designed for alien surveillance. Dr. Zixtel's research team had spent 3 local days attempting to calibrate their sensors to penetrate the complex network of tunnels, electromagnetic fields, and human activity that pulsed beneath the city's surface. Fascinating inefficiency, Val Wren noted, studying the transit patterns. They could have designed automated systems, yet they choose to crowd together in these metal tubes. The inefficiency serves a purpose we don't yet understand, Zixtel responded, her research membranes tingling with anticipation. She had begun to suspect that many of humanity's apparent flaws concealed unexpected advantages. The observation was interrupted by a sudden surge in emergency transmissions. Their sensors detected an explosion in one of the main transit hubs, followed by structural damage to key tunnel systems. Power failed across multiple grid sections, plunging thousands of humans into darkness. Initiating emergency protocols, the ship's AI announced. Detecting multiple casualties, calculating probability of mass panic. But the predicted panic didn't materialize. Instead, something extraordinary happened in the darkness beneath the city. It started with a single voice, trembling but clear, singing what their cultural database identified as an ancient song of comfort. Then another voice joined, and another. The song spread through the darkened tunnels like a wave, picked up by strangers who had been enemies moments before. Impossible, Val Wren whispered, their voice sacs contracting in disbelief. The stress levels should be causing widespread psychological breakdown. Yet their sensors told a different story. Heart rates were stabilizing. Stress hormones, while elevated, were being modulated by social bonding chemicals. The singing had created an impromptu community in crisis. As they watched, humans began organizing in the darkness. Those with medical training identified themselves. Others formed chains to guide people to safety. Smartphones became improvised lighting networks. Someone started a shared online document to coordinate resources and information. They're information networks, Zixtel mused, watching the data streams. They're adapting faster than their official emergency response systems. Social media platforms exploded with activity. Civilians above ground began mapping evacuation routes. Local businesses offered shelter and supplies. Healthcare workers headed toward the crisis zone instead of away from it. The city's formal emergency protocols were being supplemented, and in some cases superseded, by spontaneous civilian organization. Lead researcher, the ship's eye interrupted. I'm detecting an unusual pattern in their communications. The displays shifted to show thousands of message streams. Humans were sharing not just practical information but emotional support. Jokes circulated alongside evacuation instructions. Stories of past crises were exchanged. A complex web of social connections was being forged in real time. They're not just surviving the crisis, Zixtel realized. They're using it to strengthen their social bonds. The observation team watched as the emergency response evolved. Official rescue teams arrived to find civilian networks already in place. Medical professionals discovered patients triaged and cared for by strangers. The singing continued, now interwoven with different songs from various cultures, creating an impromptu harmony in the darkness. Compare this response to our historical database, Zixtal ordered. Find any similar patterns in other species. No matches found, the AI reported. Most species either maintain rigid hierarchical responses or descend into chaos. This adaptive social organization is unique. As power was gradually restored, their sensors captured something else remarkable. The temporary communities formed in crisis didn't immediately dissolve. Contact information was exchanged. Plans were made for future meetings. The bonds forged underground began extending into the wider city. They're like their own songs, Val Rem observed, studying the pattern. Individual voices that somehow strengthen each other instead of creating discord. Zixtal felt her decision sax pulse with excitement. This was more than just cooperation in crisis. The humans had demonstrated an ability to generate complex social structures from chaos, to find harmony in discord. Update the research priorities, she ordered. Focus on their cultural transmission mechanisms, music, stories, shared experiences. There's something about their communication that transcends mere information exchange. The team continued monitoring as the city recovered. Memorials were held for the lost. Investigations began into the attack's cause. But underneath these expected responses, something more profound had changed. The crisis had revealed a layer of human nature that their initial scans had missed, an ability to forge strength from shared vulnerability. Prepare for Phase 3 of the observation, Zixtal announced. I want to understand how they store and transmit these experiences. There must be a reason they maintain such complex information networks. As the ship's systems recalibrated, she couldn't shake the feeling that they had witnessed something profound. The humans hadn't just survived the crisis, they had somehow used it to make themselves stronger. The question was, how far did this capacity for adaptive social bonding extend? The answer, she suspected, would challenge everything the Council thought they knew about civilizational development. The Luminous Inquiry's data processing center hummed with activity as it sifted through the vast ocean of human digital information. Dr. Zixtal had expected to find military secrets when they first breached Earth's primitive encryption. Instead, they found cats. Endless streams of cats, accompanied by what their cultural analysis systems identified as memes. Lead researcher, junior analyst Kretal called out, their excitement glands visibly pulsing. You need to see this. Zixtal glided to Kretal's station, where multiple screens displayed what appeared to be simulated combat scenarios. But something was off about them. These are not military training programs, Kretal explained. They're entertainment. They call them video games, but look at the problem-solving approaches they're generating. The displays showed humans using these recreational simulations to develop solutions that would revolutionize actual space combat. Players were discovering orbital mechanics that had taken Council scientists centuries to calculate. They were developing tactical approaches that defied conventional military doctrine. And they're doing this for fun. Zixtal's confusion membranes fluttered rapidly. Not just for fun, Val Rem interjected, joining them at the station. Look at these discussion forums. They're debating everything: philosophy, ethics, the nature of consciousness, all while sharing pictures of their pets and arguing about entertainment preferences. The research team had spent a full local week analyzing human internet traffic, and the pattern that emerged defied all conventional understanding. Humans seemed to process information in ways that simultaneously embraced contradiction and generated innovation. Show me their weapons development networks, Zixtal ordered. The displays shifted to show military research facilities. As expected, humans were developing increasingly sophisticated weapons. But what caught Zixtal's attention was how these developments intersected with civilian technology and culture. They're not just building weapons, she realized. They're taking concepts from art, entertainment, even their jokes, and transforming them into military innovations. And then those innovations flow back into civilian applications. The pattern was unlike anything in the Council's database. Most species maintained strict separations between military and civilian development. But humans seemed to thrive on cross-pollination, creating an accelerated innovation cycle that defied conventional models. New data stream incoming, the ship's AI announced, detecting unusual activity in their scientific networks. The displays filled with research papers, forum discussions, and project collaborations. Humans were tackling complex problems by combining insights from seemingly unrelated fields. A breakthrough in quantum mechanics was inspired by ancient poetry. A new medical treatment drew on video game design principles. Their conflict drives innovation, Valrem observed, but not in the way we expected. It's not just military competition, it's intellectual conflict, cultural conflict. Even their entertainment involves constant challenge and resolution. Zixtal's research membranes tingled as she processed the implications. The Council had always viewed conflict as a sign of primitive development, something to be outgrown. But humans had somehow turned conflict itself into an engine of progress. "Look at their creative works," she ordered. The displays shifted again, showing an endless stream of stories, art, and music. They're constantly imagining different futures, different possibilities. Even their fictional conflicts generate real solutions. The team watched as humans debated passionately about imaginary scenarios, developing complex theoretical frameworks that they then applied to real-world problems. Their entertainment wasn't just escape, it was a vast simulation network for testing ideas and possibilities. Their information networks, Kretal noted, they're not just for communication. They're incubators for innovation. Zixtal felt her decision sax pulse with a new understanding. The Council had been wrong about human nature. Their capacity for conflict wasn't a flaw. It was intricately linked to their extraordinary creativity. "Update our species classification parameters," she ordered. "We need new categories. Their development pattern doesn't fit any existing model." As the team worked to recategorize human civilization, their sensors detected something else, a growing awareness among humans of their own potential. They were beginning to realize that their seemingly chaotic approach to information and innovation gave them unique advantages. They're not just stumbling toward advancement, Zixtal realized. They're evolving a new way of processing reality itself. Their conflicts, their contradictions, their endless debates, it's all part of a larger pattern we're only beginning to understand. The question was, what would happen when humanity fully grasped their own potential? The answer, she suspected, would soon reshape the galaxy in ways the Council had never imagined possible. The emergency alert rippled through the luminous inquiry systems with jarring urgency. A rogue planet, nearly twice the size of Jupiter, had entered the Proxima Centauri system. Initial calculations showed it would destabilize the orbits of 3 inhabited worlds within 6 standard months. The Council's response fleet is 8 months from intercept position. Valrem reported, their voice sacs contracting with distress. Even at maximum velocity, they cannot arrive in time. Dr. Zixtal was about to order enhanced monitoring protocols when their sensors detected something unexpected, multiple launches from Earth's surface. "Impossible," Valrem whispered. "They can't have detected the threat. Their astronomical technology is too primitive." But the humans had detected it. Their telescopes, linked in a global observation network, had spotted the rogue planet weeks ago. While the Council deliberated, humanity had already begun acting. Analysis of launch vehicles, the ship's AI reported. Detecting unusual configurations. These are not standard propulsion systems. The human rockets carried what appeared to be a network of small devices. Initial scans suggested they were some form of gravity manipulation technology, but the design was unlike anything in the Council's database. "Show me their development process," Zixtal ordered. The displays filled with human communications from the past weeks. What they revealed was astounding. The solution hadn't come from their space agencies or military think tanks. Instead, it had emerged from an unlikely combination of sources. A video game developer had suggested using techniques from orbital mechanics simulators. A choreographer had contributed insights about momentum and movement from classical ballet. Theoretical physicists had adapted these ideas into a workable technology, while engineers from multiple nations raced to construct the devices. They're not trying to destroy or deflect the rogue planet, Zixtal realized, watching the human ships deploy their network. They're trying to make it dance. The gravity manipulators activated in sequence, creating a complex web of gravitational fields. The massive rogue planet began to respond, its trajectory shifting not in a single violent correction, but in a series of graceful adjustments. The mathematics, Val Rem marveled, analyzing the human calculations. They've combined orbital mechanics with dance choreography and game theory. It's beautiful. The research team watched in amazement as humanity executed their plan. The rogue planet's momentum was preserved but redirected, its massive bulk guided into a complex but stable orbital pattern that would actually enhance the Proxima Centauri system's stability. They turned a catastrophe into an astronomical ballet, Cretal observed, their analysis glands pulsing with excitement. And they did it by combining disciplines that no other species would think to connect. But it wasn't just the technical achievement that caught Zixtal's attention. It was the way humans had mobilized to accomplish it. Nations that usually competed had shared resources and knowledge. Artists had worked alongside scientists. Ancient wisdom had merged with cutting-edge technology. "Look at their public response," she ordered. The displays showed humans celebrating worldwide. But they weren't just celebrating their success. They were already imagining new possibilities. Discussion forums filled with ideas for using the new technology. Artists created works inspired by the celestial dance. Scientists began theorizing about applications they hadn't even tested yet. They don't just solve problems, Zixtal realized. They transform them into opportunities for further innovation. The Council's emergency response fleet, when it finally arrived, found not a disaster zone, but a stabilized star system with a new celestial choreography. The rogue planet's orbit had been converted into a gravitational anchor, actually improving the system's long-term stability. "Update our technological assessment protocols," Zixtal ordered. "We need to stop measuring human advancement by individual technologies and start looking at their capacity for innovative combination." As the team compiled their reports, they noticed something else. The humans were already adapting their solution for other applications. The gravity manipulation network was being studied for everything from climate control to space habitat design. "They're not just advancing," Val Rem noted. "They're transforming their failures into foundations for new achievements." Zixtal felt her decision sax pulse with a new certainty. The Council had been measuring human progress against the wrong metrics. Their strength wasn't in any single capability, but in their unique ability to weave disparate elements into revolutionary new patterns. The question now was, what would they do with this remarkable talent once they fully emerged onto the galactic stage? The Luminous Inquiry's stealth systems were the most advanced in the Galactic Council's fleet. They could bend light, mask energy signatures, and dampen quantum fluctuations, but they couldn't fool the birds. "Explain again," Council Representative Mixnar demanded, their authority sacs inflated with irritation, how these humans detected our presence. Dr. Zixtal's research membranes rippled with what she was beginning to recognize as amusement, a dangerous human emotion she'd apparently contracted during her studies. They noticed that Earth's avian species altered their song patterns near our cloaking fields, she explained. A group of amateur birdwatchers mapped the anomalies and posted their findings online. Within hours, humans worldwide began tracking our ships through bird behavior. The Council's emergency response team had arrived at Earth expecting to manage a catastrophic first contact scenario. Instead, they found themselves facing something unprecedented. Humans making jokes about their surveillance attempts. "Show them the human response channels," Zixtal instructed. The displays filled with social media posts, memes, and videos. Humans had turned the discovery of alien surveillance into a global comedy event. They created songs about bird-watching the birdwatchers, organized cloaking field detection parties disguised as picnics, and started an online challenge to wave at invisible alien ships. This is their reaction to discovering they're being monitored by an advanced alien civilization. Mixnar's confusion glands were visibly throbbing. They're using humor as a cognitive processing tool, Valrem explained, having spent months studying human psychological responses. It allows them to engage with potentially threatening situations while maintaining social cohesion and creative problem-solving capabilities. The Council's diplomatic team had prepared for every standard first contact scenario: panic, aggression, religious crisis, technological awe. But they hadn't prepared for humans finding the situation funny. "We're receiving a transmission," the ship's AI announced. "Multiple sources, using our own communication frequencies." The message that played through the ship's systems was not what anyone expected. It was an invitation to a global welcome to Earth party. Humans had somehow turned potential interstellar conflict into an excuse for celebration. They're not just making light of the situation, Zixtal realized, watching the human response unfold. They're deliberately using humor to reshape the narrative. They're transforming our surveillance from a threat into a shared joke that unites their species. The diplomatic team watched in bewilderment as humans organized simultaneous celebrations across the planet. Every culture added its own touch. Japanese anime studios released cartoons about friendly alien observers. Bollywood produced a romantic comedy about human-alien cultural misunderstandings, and late-night comedy shows competed to make the best jokes about alien bird-watching techniques. Their response defies all first contact protocols, Mixnar observed. How do we proceed when they've turned our strategic advantage into entertainment? Zixtal's research membranes pulsed with growing understanding. "We don't proceed according to protocol," she advised. "They've already changed the rules of engagement. If we respond with standard diplomatic procedures, we'll lose the initiative they're offering us." The Council representatives watched as humans continued their creative response to first contact. They weren't just acknowledging the alien presence, they were actively incorporating it into their cultural framework, using humor to process the implications and imagine positive outcomes. "Look at their conflict indicators," Valrem pointed out. "Global tensions are actually decreasing. They're using this shared experience to bridge cultural divides." The displays showed an unprecedented level of international cooperation emerging. Countries that had been rivals were now collaborating on welcome messages. Cultural differences were being celebrated as potential insights into alien communication. "They've weaponized hospitality," Kree-Tal observed with wonder. "They're making it impossible for us to maintain an adversarial stance without appearing as the aggressors." Zixtal felt her decision sax pulse with certainty. "Prepare for direct contact," she ordered, "but not according to standard protocols. We need to match their adaptive approach." As the luminous inquiry prepared to reveal itself, Zixtal couldn't help but appreciate the elegance of the human response. They had taken what could have been a moment of panic and transformed it into an opportunity for unity and growth. Perhaps, she mused, watching the celebrations unfold below, the true test of intelligence isn't how a species confronts danger, but how they transform it into something new. The question was, how would the Council adapt to a species that refused to follow the expected script of first contact? The hive mind attack came without warning. One moment, Earth was celebrating its newfound place in the galactic community. The next, a fleet of crystalline ships darkened the skies over every major city. Their message was simple: surrender or be eradicated. They expect a unified response, Dr. Zixtal observed from the Luminous Inquiry's command center, now serving as an emergency observation post. They believe humanity's fractured nature makes them vulnerable. The hive mind had conquered 12 civilizations using the same strategy. Overwhelming force against centralized targets, exploiting the predictable responses of unified species. But they had never encountered anything like humanity. Multiple defense initiatives launching, Valrem reported, their voice sacs vibrating with excitement. But this can't be right. They're all completely different. The displays showed a cascade of human responses, each more unexpected than the last. Nordic countries deployed sonic weapons based on death metal frequencies, disrupting the hive mind's crystalline technology with walls of aggressive sound. Japanese defenders launched anime-inspired mecha units, their seemingly impractical designs proving surprisingly effective against the geometrically minded enemy. Their cultural diversity isn't just social, Zixtal realized. It's tactical. Across Africa, nations implemented defense systems drawing on ancient hunting techniques and modern technology. Nigerian engineers had weaponized Nollywood special effects, creating holographic disruption fields that confused the hive mind sensors. Kenyan tech companies deployed swarm drones programmed with patterns based on wildebeest migrations. The hive mind is struggling to adapt, Cretal reported. Their strategic algorithms can't process the simultaneous variety of responses. In South America, Brazilian carnival techniques were being used to coordinate civilian movements, turning evacuation routes into dynamic, rhythm-based patterns that the enemy couldn't predict. Indian tech centers had repurposed Bollywood dance choreography into battlefield formations, creating swarm tactics that defied conventional military logic. They're not just fighting, Valrem observed. They're creating art with warfare. The displays showed human military units adapting in real time, borrowing techniques from each other's cultural repositories. American soldiers incorporated Mary-Haka movements into their battle strategies. Chinese divisions integrated Russian ballet principles into their mechanized unit deployments. This isn't chaos, Zixtal said, her research membranes tingling with revelation. This is improvised harmony on a global scale. The hive mind's attacks grew increasingly erratic as they failed to establish control patterns. Their crystalline ships, designed to counter unified resistance, found themselves trapped in a kaleidoscope of human ingenuity. Each attempted adaptation only exposed them to new, unpredictable responses. Their strength isn't in spite of their differences, Cretal noted, analyzing the battle patterns. It's because of them. Each cultural framework offers unique solutions, and they're learning to combine them in real time. The displays showed the tide turning. The hive mind's geometric formations began to fracture against the asymmetric human defense. Their crystalline technology, so effective against predictable enemies, proved vulnerable to the sheer variety of human approaches. They're not just defending, Zixtal observed. They're innovating. Look at how they're already adapting these battle techniques for other applications. The human response had catalyzed a new wave of cultural exchange. Military tactics were being transformed into dance forms. Battle strategies were inspiring new art movements. Even their victory celebrations were becoming experiments in cross-cultural fusion. Update our tactical databases, Zixtal ordered. We need entirely new categories to describe this kind of adaptive warfare. As the hive mind's fleet retreated in disarray, the research team watched humanity's response with growing fascination. Instead of unity through conformity, they had achieved something far more powerful: unity through diversity. The hive mind will return, Valrem warned. They've never failed to conquer a target species before. Yes, Zixtal agreed, but they've never encountered a species that turns warfare into art. The question isn't whether humanity can defeat them. It's how many new forms of cultural expression they'll create in the process. The displays showed humans already beginning to incorporate the day's events into their creative works. The battle was becoming legend, myth, and inspiration even as the dust settled. Perhaps, Zixtal mused, this is why the Council's protocols never quite fit humanity. We've been treating their chaos as a weakness, when it's actually the source of their greatest innovations. The question now was, how would the galaxy change when humanity's creative chaos spread to the stars? The hive mind's second wave struck not at Earth, but at the heart of Galactic Council space. Their crystalline ships, now adapted for asymmetric warfare, tore through conventional defense systems with devastating efficiency. World after world fell to their onslaught. Traditional military responses are failing, Council representative Mixnar reported, their authority sacks deflated with defeat. The hive mind has learned from their Earth encounter. They're using unpredictability against us. Dr. Zixtal watched the tactical displays from the Luminous Inquiry's command center, now part of Earth's diplomatic mission. The hive mind had indeed learned, but they had learned the wrong lesson. They've copied human tactical diversity, she observed, but they've missed something fundamental about how humanity actually functions. The Council's emergency session was interrupted by an unexpected transmission from Earth. Instead of military aid or tactical advice, humans were proposing something unprecedented. They wanted to broadcast their entertainment and social media networks across the galaxy. This is their response to an existential threat. Mixnar's confusion glands pulsed violently. They want to share their recreational content. But Zixtal's research membranes were tingling with excitement. They're not offering entertainment, she realized. They're weaponizing empathy. The human plan was audacious. They would use the Council's advanced communications network to flood hive mind space with human experiences, movies, music, social media feeds, personal stories, and art from every culture on Earth. The hive mind operates on perfect unity, Valrem explained, understanding dawning in their analysis glands. They'd never been exposed to individual perspectives, to emotional complexity, to the beauty of diverse viewpoints. The Council, desperate for solutions, authorized the attempt. Earth's digital floodgates opened, pouring centuries of human cultural expression into the galaxy. The effect on the hive mind was immediate and profound. They're experiencing individual identity for the first time, Kretal reported, monitoring the hive mind's neural networks. Their collective consciousness is encountering concepts it was never designed to process. The displays showed the impact rippling through hive mind space. Their ships began receiving human entertainment feeds, comedy shows that introduced them to humor, drama series that taught them about conflict and resolution, social media streams that showed them the power of individual voices. Look at their neural patterns, Zixtal ordered. The displays showed the hive mind's collective consciousness fragmenting, not into chaos, but into something new, individual perspectives learning to exist in harmony. Music seemed to affect them most profoundly. The mathematical precision of classical compositions appealed to their logical nature, while the emotional rawness of human vocals introduced them to feelings they had never known existed. They're not just receiving information, Valrem observed. They're experiencing human empathy firsthand. Their collective consciousness is learning to appreciate diversity. The hive mind's military campaign faltered as their drones began developing individual preferences, emotional responses, and even creative impulses. Their perfect unity was transformed into something more complex, but ultimately more powerful, unity through mutual understanding. Show me their adaptation patterns, Zixtal requested. The displays revealed something extraordinary. The hive mind was beginning to create its own art, music, and stories, inspired by human examples, but uniquely their own. They're not just stopping their attack, Kretal reported with wonder. They're experiencing a cultural renaissance. The Council watched in amazement as the hive mind transformed. Their crystalline ships began broadcasting their own entertainment channels. Their drone units started forming artistic collectives. Their neural networks buzzed with philosophical discussions about identity and consciousness. Humanity didn't just defeat them, Zixtal realized. They've converted them into something entirely new. They've proven that empathy is more powerful than any conventional weapon. As the crisis subsided, the research team observed an unexpected development. The hive mind was requesting cultural exchange programs with Earth. They wanted to learn more about human emotions, to understand the art of individual expression, while maintaining collective harmony. Update our strategic databases, Zixtal ordered. We need new categories for weapons of mass creation. The displays showed the galaxy transforming as human cultural influence spread. Species that had never considered individual expression began developing art forms. Ancient enemies found common ground through shared appreciation of Earth's entertainment. Perhaps, Zixtal mused, this is the true power of human nature, not their ability to fight, but their capacity to transform others through shared experience. The question now was, how would the galaxy change as more species learned to balance unity with diversity, collective strength with individual expression? The Grand Council chamber had never seen anything quite like this emergency session. Representatives from every major galactic civilization crowded the crystalline amphitheater, their various sensory organs fixed on Dr. Zixtal as she prepared to present her final analysis of human nature. The data is conclusive, she began, her research membranes pulsing with certainty. We must create an entirely new classification for Earth. None of our existing categories can adequately describe what humanity represents. The chamber's displays activated, showing scenes from the past year of human observation. Military parades flowed seamlessly into peace celebrations. Scientific breakthroughs danced with artistic innovations. Conflict and cooperation intertwined in an endless productive spiral. We initially saw humanity's contradictions as a sign of primitive development, Zixtal continued. We were wrong. Their contradictions are the source of their greatest strength, the ability to conduct a symphony of chaos. The displays showed humans responding to various crises, each time transforming potential disaster into opportunity. The hive mind invasion had sparked a renaissance in cultural exchange. Environmental challenges had bred technological innovations that were already spreading to other worlds. Look at how they process information, Val Rem added, highlighting human communication networks. They don't seek consensus. They embrace debate. They don't enforce unity. They celebrate diversity. Every problem they face becomes a catalyst for creation. The council representatives watched as humans continued their peculiar dance of progress. Nations competed fiercely in some areas while cooperating deeply in others. Individual humans could hold opposing ideas simultaneously, using the tension to fuel innovation. We propose a new classification, Zixtal announced. Earth should be designated as a paradigm breaker civilization, a species capable of transforming galactic constants into variables. The chamber erupted in discussion, various species debating the implications. The hive mind representatives, their crystalline forms now adorned with artistic expressions, supported the proposal. Their own transformation stood as testament to humanity's transformative influence. Show them the integration projections, Zixtal ordered. The displays filled with data showing how human ideas were already spreading through galactic society. Their entertainment had sparked creative revolutions on dozens of worlds. Their adaptive problem-solving approaches were being studied and adopted across the galaxy. They're not just advancing technologically, Kreetal observed. They're teaching the galaxy new ways to think, to create, to evolve. Their chaos isn't random. It's generative. The displays showed scenes from Earth's first official galactic embassy opening. True to form, humans had combined formal diplomatic protocols with a global celebration. Military honor guards performed alongside dance troupes. Scientific presentations were interwoven with artistic performances. We've been measuring advancement on a linear scale, Zixtal explained. Humanity operates in multiple dimensions simultaneously. They don't just progress. They transform the nature of progress itself. The Council watched as human influence continued to reshape galactic society. Species that had been locked in ancient conflicts found new ways to interact through human-inspired cultural exchange. Rigid hierarchical civilizations began experimenting with adaptive organization. Their true nature isn't destruction or creation, Zixtal concluded. It's transformation. They take opposition and forge synthesis. They turn enemies into partners. They make art from warfare and science from dreams. The final displays showed Earth from orbit, a blue jewel spinning in space. But now the Council could see what they had missed before, the beautiful complexity of a world where contradiction bred creation, where chaos and order danced together in endless innovation. We recommend not just protecting Earth, Zixtal stated, but learning from it. Humanity's symphony of chaos may be exactly what our galaxy needs to evolve beyond its current limitations. As the Council moved to vote on Earth's new status, Zixtal felt her decision sax pulse with a profound realization. They hadn't just discovered humanity's true nature, they had discovered a new way of understanding nature itself. The displays showed humans already preparing for their expanded role in galactic society. They were designing impossible architectures, dreaming up new art forms, imagining ways to blend technologies and traditions that no one had ever thought to combine. Perhaps, Zixtal mused as the vote was tallied, this is the greatest lesson humanity has taught us, that the future belongs not to those who maintain perfect order, but to those who can dance with chaos and make it sing. The Council's decision was unanimous. Earth would be designated as the galaxy's first paradigm-breaker civilization. The question now was, how would humanity transform the galaxy next? The answer, Zixtal suspected, would be both exactly what they expected and something no one could predict. Perfectly human in its beautiful contradiction.